Hey everyone, let's have a quick August wrap up to get that month behind us and continue on with a better September. So in August we had a lot of good discussions. We talked a lot about regrets and I really enjoyed your comments there. Thank you very much. Also when we talked about pet peeves, where my pet peeve this month was that series when they are badly labeled or indecisive, and it turns out this is not badly labeled, the series I was talking about, but it was meant to be like that and I totally disagree. So thank you all for your discussions on those points. Also, when we talked about my TBR shrinking and how your TBR development is going, and I enjoyed this discussion. Who doesn't love talking about their TBR, right? Also, thank you very much for your comments on my letter to August. I am very hopeful that September is going to be better, and I hope for you it's the same. And that already brings us to the books I read in August, which were in abundance. So let's get started with Misalliances, which is another misadventure. This one is the first one in a collaboration, so it's written by Robert Asprin and Jody Lynn Nye. And I'm not really a big fan of this one. I liked how Skeeve was his natural naive self. What I didn't like that everyone around him was kind of stupid and annoying, and you really didn't like the boozers. So it was okay. The only other physical book I read this month was A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray, which had been on my TBR forever. I kind of liked it, but mostly was bored by it. The characters were pretty stock figure-y and the main character was rather boring. The magic wasn't explained. There's a full review up where I go on about the things that I liked and didn't like in more detail. I don't think I'm going to continue with the series though. Then I finally finished Under My Hat, which is a short story collection all about witches. And I think I started it in March. And yeah, most of the stories were not really interesting. They were not bothersome, but none really caught my attention and sucked me into it. I think the one I liked most was the one with Harry Dresden, because I at least knew the character, and so all the lacking background that I had in the other stories wasn't important there. But yeah, only if you like short stories and fantasy a lot, then I would recommend it. Also, on my Kindle I read Tales from the Kingdoms and I loved the series. It's beauty, poison and charm, and I really enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the combinations of the fairy tales and how it's interwoven, and the slight criticism that's going on there and the things you can read into it. I definitely want to read that series again to see what else I can discover. Highly recommended. And August turned out to be a very good month for audiobooks. I finished listening to The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat by Oliver Sacks, which are stories about people with neurological diseases and example stories, and they were kind of interesting, but I found myself just enjoying listening to the narrator's voice more than the content. But I'm not working in that field, so it was interesting. That's all I can say. I also listened to Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, which was highly captivating and gripping. It's a story about a man who finds himself sort of in the multiverse, trying to find his way home and having to deal with everything that's going on. And it's super fascinating. I really enjoyed the ideas and the things that are happening and the characters. Some were stock figure-y, some things were predictable, but I didn't really mind that. I liked the things that it made with you, because you really found yourself thinking, what would I do if I were in his situation? And how could you cope? And oh no, and the drama and the endings, some find a little bit soppy and over the top. I liked it. And the last audiobook I listened to was Erst wieder da by Timo Vermeersch, and I was surprised how much I liked it. I can't really say that I expected to like it. I was reluctant to start it for a long time, but the audiobook is read by Christoph Maria Herbst, and he does an awesome Hitler, which kind of sounds weird, but it gave the book another level and it made it a lot more awkward, because you're constantly stuck in Hitler's head and listen to his ideas and what he thinks, and you sometimes find yourself like, hey, that's not a bad idea, and then you're like, no, agreeing with Hitler is bad. But it really shows you how he wasn't only a monster. It reminds you that he had some good ideas, and that he was a likable person, that he was a born leader, and that people tended to follow him. This happens in this book too. It's a satire, and people don't recognize or don't believe him to be the real Hitler, so they think he's a comedian. And he kind of becomes popular on YouTube and on TV, and things happen. And people just like him for the character he plays. And he's just following his agenda, I would say. And you can see in his head all the things that are going on. And some things you're like, hey, that's a good idea. With others, you're like, oh my God, that is so wrong. I'll upload a full review tomorrow, Friday, and then we can talk about it more. And that were all the things that I read in August. Reading-wise, I had a very good month. Thank you all for watching, and let me know how your August was. Bye-bye.